Is it even possible to create New Year's goals in January that you don't absolutely positively hate by February? Hi, I'm Hope.
And I'm Larry.
From Under the Median. Hey, Happy New Year. 2022, we have finally arrived. We're going to start out the new year by talking about that amazing thing called New Year's resolutions. Now, statistically, 50% of us make them. 1 in 2 people will made some of those New Year's resolutions. But here's the truth, guys. 80% of those resolutions will be thrown out the door by Valentine's Day. So in this video, we're going to give you some hope and some help to actually carry through with those New Year's resolutions and to gain momentum instead of losing momentum about 30 days into those goals. Now, we have to start out this video by telling you that our sons had a couple of friends over after church today. So if you hear in the background the voices of happy young adults, well, that's because this is our house and this is real life and that's where we're at today. But unless we hear anything hit the floor with a thud, we are going to continue recording, but you may very well, every once in a while, hear a little bit of chatter in the background.
I was going to say if it doesn't come through the floor, we would
there you go. So we're going to keep going, guys. Now, within the course of this video, we're going to discuss 4 different lies that people actually believe about making goals. And part of the problem is if you are believing one of these lies, you're probably setting those New Year's resolutions based on those lies. And that's part of the reason you wind up giving up by mid-February. And speaking of giving up, we want you to stick with us because toward the end of the video, we're going to reveal the 5 most common problems with creating those New Year's resolutions and those goals for 2022. And these problems will actually result in those goals failing. So stick with us.
This is the first of a 2-part series that we will continue next Monday, and we'll discuss 4 of the most important but little known secrets for reaching goals in less time, minus the stress and frustration.
And we'll delve into that in next Monday's video. So make sure that you are subscribed and you hit the bell notification so you don't miss part 2 of the 2-part series. But let's delve right in today and talk about those 4 lies that are incredibly common. But if you believe one of them, they will keep you from meeting your goals. Lie number 1
is you are forever doomed if you're a goal-setting dropout and you make a long list of New Year's resolutions only to throw up your hands, and by the middle of February, you totally give up on them.
That's right. This is not a self-fulfilling prophecy, or at least it doesn't have to be. Just because you have dropped out of New Year's resolutions in the past does not mean that you will or should continue to do that. So make sure when you've made those New Year's resolutions, you are making it with a mindset that says, I am going to try my best to reach those resolutions and to stick with it this year, despite what may or may not have happened in the past. Lie number 2.
The lie number 2 is reaching goals involves a secret code that you won't be able to decipher, but only Becky down the street can get.
That's right. You ever start something and feel like, how come I feel like I'm the only one who does not understand how to do this? Like I am the odd man out. That is a lie. There is no secret code that you need to know in order to set goals, stick with them, and reach them. There are some really important processes that will help you to stick with those goals, and those processes are exactly what we are going to be talking about this week and in next week's video. Lie number 3.
Setting goals is an exercise in futility when you're worrying about how you're going to pay those bills that already consumes the vast majority of your time and effort.
That's right. So your waking time, your sleeping time, you are worried about paying your bills. Now, if that's where you're at, if you're low income or you're having trouble paying those bills, believe me when I tell you, we totally understand.
Been there.
But here is the truth. just because you don't make a lot of money does not mean you get to opt out of the goal setting process. And in fact, we totally believe that the truth is people who are low income or already having trouble meeting their bills, those are the people that absolutely need to dig deep and they need to delve headfirst into this process of making and setting goals. It is completely and utterly important that you do that. Why? Because without knowing where you're going, you will never get there.
Okay, so lie number 4 is having goals is like taking a vow of poverty. It means no more fun, no more vacations, no more eating out. It's like living on Barely Get Along Street next to Grumble Alley.
Here's the truth. We've said it before and we will say it again. Living on a budget, setting goals, practicing frugality is not about deprivation. It is about choosing when, where, and how you will spend your money. And that has nothing to do with taking a vow of poverty. Poverty is not the equivalent of frugality.
No. We're frugal so that we can have money to do the things that we want to do.
Now, before we roll into the 5 main reasons why we believe that goals fail, we'd love to hear from you in the comments section. What are the lies about goal setting that you believe that people tell themselves?
So, goals fail for these reasons. Number 1, they are not part of our value system.
If you're setting goals just because you see other people setting similar goals or because some expert, us included, has told you you should set that kind of goal. Goals should be made and should be based on what is most important to you. That can be called living according to your value system, worldviews, your faith. Certainly that bears a part of why people set goals and why people spend money the way they spend money. But when you have a set of goals that are utterly divorced from any sort of why am I doing this, then ultimately that goal is going to fail. Now, the second reason that goals actually fail is the fact that all of the items on your goal list are not interrelated. So let me explain what that means. There are 4 kinds of goals that Larry and I make every single year: financial, relationship, educational, and personal. Now, educational, that might throw you for a loop a little bit, especially those of you who, like us, have been out of school for a really, really long time. Educational goals are anything that you're interested in that you really would love to learn more about. One of the things we learned from Larry's dad is that as he got older, he deliberately continued to be a lifelong learner because he believed that not only did that enhance his life, but it gave him something to really look forward to. So up until he was 90 years old and passed away, he was still actively learning new things. So an educational goal might be, for instance, well, we'll tell you our 3 educational goals for the first quarter of 2022 to kind of give you an idea.
Yeah, the first one is minimalism. Now, we've gotten interested in minimalism by watching some of the YouTube videos that some of the other frugal channels have put out that are related to minimalistic living. Minimalism and frugality are related. So the other one would be self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency then also would fall into the line of some of the prepping channels. People that prepare are also tending to be people that are frugal. So there's a relationship between those two. And then we have container gardening. That's out of my league.
Well, it's unfortunately out of my league too right now, but that's why I really want to learn more about it. I want to get some really great containers and have them outside on the patio this next year. So I am going to be watching some gardening videos on YouTube and also reading some books and doing some research to figure out what kind of containers, what kind of dirt, what kind of plants, that kind of thing that I need to purchase and get ready for 2022. Those are our 3 educational goals. Now, each quarter we actually have 3 of those sub goals underneath of those categories. And once again, I'll review them for you. They're a financial, relationship, educational, and also personal goals. Personal goals are things like, I want to lose 20 pounds. Don't we all? I want to drink more water. We want to exercise on a regular basis. We want to remember to take our supplements. Those are all personal goals that would go underneath of the heading of a personal category goal. Financial goals, that's pretty self-explanatory. Relationship goals would be things like we want to go on a date night once a week. We want to take more picnics with our kids, not in this weather, but when it gets a little warmer, guys. I want to connect with my mom more often than I do and make sure that I put on my calendar twice a week I want to call her, that I want to go over on Sunday afternoons. Those are all examples of relationship goals. So we have those 4 larger headings, and underneath of those, we actually set quarterly sub goals. We're going to delve more deeply into that. We're going to show you our actual sub goals and explain to you how we create a series of action steps that will help us to stay on those goals and to stay enthused about those goals and to make progress. We're going to cover that in next Monday's video. So we would encourage you to make sure that you are watching for that video, part 2 of this series, next week.
The third reason that goals fail is because they're not written down.
Goals that are in your head or one of those nebulous things that you kind of forget and you move on with life. But something happens in our brain when we actually write something down and our brain sees it and recognizes, you just wrote that down. That must be pretty important. So write those goals down. Don't leave them floating around in your head. Write them down.
I always thought that things could be organized in a clearer sense if you have it written down rather than having it floating around in your head. The fourth reason that goals fail is that they are not SMART goals.
What's a SMART goal?
A SMART goal is a goal that's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based. So it's an acronym.
When you have all of those 5 elements together in a goal, then you have a goal that actually will work.
Sounds like a goal with a purpose.
Absolutely. So let us give you an example. Let's say you're saving for a house down payment. You're not going to write down just, I will save for a house down payment. That's not a SMART goal. A SMART goal is I will save $20,000 within 24 months for a house down payment. That is a SMART goal. It is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant. Clearly, if you want to buy a new house, it's relevant.
Relevant to meeting that goal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it is time-based.
Love it.
Put all those 5 things together and you have a goal that is specific and you are going to make progress on. Without those 5 things together, you run the risk that goal is going to fail.
The fifth reason that goals fail is because they are not tracked.
If you want to make progress on goals, you need to track your progress. You need to know where you are at. Goals are like a roadmap for where you want to go. Now, if you have a roadmap in front of you and you have no clear-cut idea of where you're at on the road, you don't know how close you are to your destination. So you need to make sure that not only you write your goals down, but you also track them. There is a clear connection between doing those 2 things and actually finishing the course and reaching your goal. In fact, if you will do those 2 things, write them down and track them, you have a 70% greater chance of reaching those goals. Hey, if you're ready to dig into your 2022 goals and you've liked the forms we've shown on this program, you can get a copy of those forms. It is in our brand new quarterly goal planner system, and there'll be a link to that in the description of this video. Just about 10 days ago, we did a video that actually focused on some things that we recommended you do before December 31st. But the good news is, if you haven't done those things, there's still time to get them done in January. And if you're curious about what those things are, there's a link to that video right over there.